This is podcast number 196, entitled Accepting You Have a Fight on Your Hands. I was listening to a podcast entitled Compounding Effects of Discipline, and it featured Eddie Farrell, who is the world lightweight Muay Thai champion right now. The podcast was on the Coach Success podcast, and Eddie said something that really caught my attention. Obviously, he's a fighter, which is a kind of a unique way to make a living, to say the least. He made a comment about halfway through the podcast about how people sign on the dotted line of a contract to accept a fight, but never really mentally accept the fact that they're going to get locked in a cage or a ring and fight another human being. By this, he implied that many fighters don't mentally prepare for the last hour of the fight preparation and the actual fight itself. They train, they do all the work ahead of time that they're supposed to do, but things fall apart at the 11th hour. They lose it in the last hour leading up to the fight itself. I thought about this for a minute, and even to the point where I paused the podcast and gave it some real headspace. I was never a fighter like he was. The little bit of martial arts training that I did was certainly formative for me, but hardly parallels what boxers and MMA guys do, that's for sure. The art of executing your craft with the pressure of getting punched in the face repeatedly is a very high-level skill. Keeping your emotions in check before, and most importantly during the fight, is crucial to winning. What Eddie was referring to was the lack of truly understanding what you are about to undertake, the consequences of walking into the ring. Without the mental preparation for the task at hand, the acknowledgement of the consequences of fighting someone, the lows and the highs, the moments of doubt and fear, you are preparing to fail if you don't address these things in advance. By visualizing and rehearsing all of the possible scenarios and preparing for them ahead of time, you will greatly increase your chances of success, as very little will be left to catch you by surprise. I am sure for some people it's easier to manage the anxiety of the fight by not thinking about it. I can't imagine what the stress of weeks of build-up to a fight and the days and hours closing in on that trip to center stage where everyone is going to watch you. If the name George St. Pierre rings a bell, he is considered by many to be one of the greatest MMA fighters and martial artists of all time. And he has openly admitted that he hated fighting in the octagon. He was a martial artist by definition. His skills were not in place to inflict harm to others unless given no other choice. The week leading up to the fight was so stressful for him that he retired before the end of the years of his prime probably were past him. If you listen closely to some of the conversations he is having between rounds, he literally is on the verge of freaking out, and his coach has to get him to calm down and stay focused on the task at hand. Despite this, he managed to marshal his talents to perform at a very high level every time out there in the octagon. Again, his skills were honed to inflict harm on others only if given no other choice. When that cage door closes, there is no other choice. As a pro racquetball player, I didn't really have any concerns about getting injured by another while competing. But winning matches to pay rent, or in some cases, a more immediate need, winning gas money to get home, is a lot of pressure to function under. I did a marginal job most of the time. I did a great job some of the times, and I did a terrible job of that at other times. I never felt like I got consistent with it. And while there are a variety of other factors that go into each event, such as a time zone change, or who I was playing against, or if I had sustained an injury myself and was trying to work around that, things like that, it's easy to see the lack of ability to manage my emotions as the primary reason why I would fall short in competing at my highest level. Ultimately, the goal should be to perform at the highest level that you can under duress. The results are sometimes out of your control, but if you execute to your best when it counts, that in and of itself is a victory for sure. Two of the best matches I ever played in my pro career both resulted in losses, but only on the scorecard, in my opinion. I knew that I had truly zoned moments when it counted. I just got outplayed by somebody else at the very end. I did everything I was capable of when it counted, and that's why I still list those as successes. One of the things I really like about my current job is how much it mirrors my athletic career. Now, instead of flying to a city to play a tournament, I fly to a city to have a 1-hour meeting with a prospective client. I prepare in advance. I do my homework for the task at hand. I rise early, do my final preparations. I put on my uniform for the event. Previously, it was my athletic clothes provided by my sponsor, Head Racquetball. Now it's a suit and tie. I used to inspect everything in my bag to make sure that I had everything I needed. All my rackets, gloves, court shoes, protective eyewear, anything else that I would need. Now, I make sure that my laptop is charged up, that I have the power cord with me. I have my printed handouts for the people I'm about to see, and backup batteries for my presentation clicker. I have 1 hour or so to go do my thing, and I need to execute to the best of my ability. I can tell you with a high degree of certainty that my previous life as an athlete was a great preparation for a career in sales. Everything I do now is merit-based. Eat what you kill. What have you done for me lately? That is the mindset. All of that stuff is front and center as a salesperson, just like it was before in my competitive racquetball career. At some point, your rote skills become second nature to the degree that you can perform on command, literally at the drop of a hat. You lose the need to have an elaborate warm-up ritual or scouting your opponents in advance, things like that. You learn to just go play. The art of preparation is the secret to the art of execution. It is the foundation that your skills are built on. If you don't do the prep work, you know you will be standing on shaky ground in the heat of battle. If you have done the work, you've logged the hard miles, you will have the confidence that you are ready for whatever comes your way. As a player, I certainly did that work. As a coach, this was one of the things that I tried my best to impart to all of my players. It is a critical life skill, not just a competitive skill. Regardless of the fight that lies ahead of you, you need to prepare. You need to do the work and make sure that you're ready. You need to have prepared body and mind for the upcoming battle. Whether it's an athletic competition, a sales opportunity, fighting an illness or disease, whatever it is, do the work. Visualize yourself winning, succeeding, healing, overcoming the obstacles. Put the most powerful weapon that you have to work for you, and that is your mind. Practice these skills as I believe it will take you farther than any other single skill that you can acquire. I wish you luck in your endeavors. Some additional thoughts on that. Visualization is a huge part of preparation. There's lots of books and videos on that sort of thing, so I'm not going to belabor the how to do that stuff. But the why is absolutely crucial. You need to see yourself succeeding. You need to see yourself competing effectively, efficiently, tenaciously in advance of the actual event that you're participating in. For me as a racquetball player, the game was so fast-paced, like literally my opponents would be hitting the serves at me over 150 miles an hour in that 20 by 40 rectangle that is a racquetball court. I had to be of sound mind and body to slow things down and be able to execute and react at that level. If I go in there and start panicking, freaking out about, oh my God, I'm playing the number one guy in the world, or this guy hits the ball so hard I'm not going to be able to even see it when he's serving to me. If I'm letting those thoughts creep into my head, I've already lost the battle. if I have prepared ahead of time, visualizing me reading the serves, having enough time to react, hitting effective defensive shots, having good offense when the opportunity arises, things like that, I can go into that match with much more confidence and be able to relax and just go play. That was so critical in my racquetball career, playing on the pro tour. When I played in local events, I didn't have some of those underlying concerns. I was one of, if not the best guy in the tournament. But when you step up to the big boy level and you play on the pro tour, I was an also-ran guy ranked in the bottom part of the top 20 in the world. When I was playing the guys ranked above me, I knew they had better skill set. I knew that some of them hit the ball literally 150 miles an hour plus on almost every shot they hit. And that was a lot to overcome, especially over the course of an entire match. It wasn't like it happened once or twice and I had to duck a big punch. As long as I got by that, I was okay. Literally every ball that they served had that much smoke on it for sure. Preparing in advance, making sure that I was as fit as I could possibly be, that I had everything that I needed in case I broke a string or cracked a frame by hitting a concrete wall as I was swinging at a shot. All of those things that I could prepare for ahead of time, I did, and none of that stuff was a concern. All I had to do was to walk through the door and go play. That was the key to the successes that I had. Again, sometimes I still consider some of my successes out of instances that resulted in a loss. One of the best matches I ever played was against the number one player in the world, actually on two different occasions, where I faced the number one player in the world, and although I lost the match, I won one of the 4 games that we played in the best 3 out of 5 scenario, and I was close to winning another, which meant that I was hanging with the best player on the planet for that hour of that day. It didn't mean that I was going to do that same thing at the next tournament. There was no guarantees for sure. But at that moment, I rose to the occasion because I was physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared to do so. And I walked through the door with the confidence to just go play. Now, in my sales role, I do the same things. I have pitched to companies like The Hartford and Liberty Mutual Insurance, General Mills, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, American Red Cross, and a whole bunch of other big corporate, familiar household type names, and have had success with almost every single one of those. Literally every one but one of those companies that I named is now a client of mine. The Hartford chose to go with somebody else. Everybody else I mentioned is a client of mine. And I did the work ahead of time. I did the research. I learned about who I was going to be speaking with. I know my service and my company's offering forward, backwards, and sideways. And I mentally prepared to walk into a conference room with the decision-making team from the risk management department to pitch what we do and how it will help them achieve the goals that they have. Just like preparing for a tournament, I did the work ahead of time. I would fly to another city, spend the night, put on my quote-unquote uniform, and go to work. I would go into that conference room and just go play. And like I said, I've had a very high degree of success because of that approach. So hopefully there's some things you can glean from that yourself. If there's anything I can help you with, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me through my social media platform or any of my social media accounts or my website at darrenchatter.com. I would be happy to help in any way I can. I certainly don't have all the answers, but you are welcome to anything that I know. I wish you luck in your endeavors. Thank you for joining me on the Darren Chatter podcast. I'm going to be reading some of my blog posts that I have written so that you can consume this information in an audio format versus reading the blogs if this is more to your liking. I'm going to share with you stories from my past as an athlete, as a coach, as a salesperson, as a business professional, as a VP of sales. Everything that I have learned and amassed along the way in my 50 years here on planet Earth, I'm going to hope to share with you in order to help you shorten your learning curve, understand maybe a little different way to look at things, and hopefully learn a few things along the way. So here was the podcast you tuned in for. I hope you enjoy it. Please reach out to me when you can and let me know your thoughts. Thank you.